Good, beautiful morning, everybody. Silas here today. We're off on another adventure. I have been working and working like crazy, trying to get stuff done, and I'm just kind of burned out on dealing with cars right now. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and we're going to go on a quick mushroom hunt. Now, this is the wrong time of year to hunt morel mushrooms. Those only come out in the spring. I have heard some reports that sometimes you can find them in the fall, but they're few and far between. And in fact, I don't even know how true those stories are. They might just be old wives' tales or made up stories or fishing stories, but for mushrooms instead of fish. But what we might find today is there's a chance we'll find some oyster mushrooms. That's mainly what I'm looking for. Also, there's a chance of finding chicken of the woods and hen of the woods. Now, those don't really grow around this area that good because those are more of a eastern Kansas type of thing. Those like oak trees and stuff like that, and we don't really have oak trees in this part of Kansas. But every now and then people find them, and pheasant backs, stuff like that. Now, I did forget to bring a pair of tongs, which I may have to come back here in a couple of weeks and do this. As you can see here, my prickly pears have some fruit growing on them, although some of those still look kind of green, so I don't think they're quite ripe yet anyway. So we'll definitely come back here in a couple weeks and pick some of those. I say definitely, we'll have to see how things go. There's no such thing as guarantees in my world. Here's another edible item. There's not very many here, so I'm probably not going to mess with them, but this is called I believe Spiderwort. Those flowers there, those you can turn into tea, and if you grab them with your fingers like that, you can see they just kind of dissolve. And you put those in hot water and they dissolve right in. They say it makes a really good tea. I was going to try some earlier in the year, and then they started, the bloom stopped on them. There's still a few of them out and about, but I mean, it takes a pretty good handful of those in order to make a cup of tea. And I think I see one. I don't see any more in this whole area. But we'll keep our eyes out. If we come across any more of them, then maybe we'll go ahead and pick some and make a cup of tea out of them. Oh yeah. And I'm halfway tempted to go find a pair of tongs. There's a bunch of these, like those right there. Those are ripe and ready to go. There's a bunch of good ones here. Now last year, some sort of bug, you can see a little bit on this one over here. That white stuff, that's a bug that gets on them. And it just didn't look that appetizing, but man, look at those. There's a bunch of them in here that are good to eat this year. The thing is, though, is you have to have tongs to pick those because they have little tiny spines on them. And you got to take them and you got to roast them to get those spines off of them. And then I believe you peel them kind of like you would a potato. And then the inside is what's edible. I've never actually cooked them or ate them before, so we'll have to come back. I'm getting ready to leave on a trip. I will be back here in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. So as long as we don't get a freeze between now and then, which they're talking here in a week or so, 36 degrees. So as long as it stays above freezing, these will still be okay. I'll find enough of them to cook here in a couple weeks. Oh, there's a little bit more. I didn't bring a bag or anything to put edibles in. So we'll have to see what all we find. I see a handful of them all along here. What I'll do is I'll come back by here on my way back. If we find a few more of these, I'll go ahead and start picking them. Maybe I'll put them in my hat or in my shirt or something like that. Now, we are no longer on my property. We are on public property. My property isn't very far away from a stretch of public land. I didn't really have any luck finding any mushrooms on my property, so this place is a little bit closer to the river, so I thought I'd come check in here. As you can see, it is pretty overgrown. There's a little bit of a deer trail through here, so that's kind of what I'm following, kind of looking off in the trees. Usually oysters will grow up a little bit off the ground, although I have seen them growing close to the ground. But they always grow off of wood. They don't just grow out of the dirt, unless there's like a dead log or something like that just under the surface. Work our way through this mess of tree branches. I don't think even the deer have been going down this trail. This looks like more like a small game trail. Now, normally I wouldn't even bother looking. It's been so dry that more than likely there wouldn't be mushrooms. However, about 2 weeks ago, we got some pretty good rain for about 3 days. And as you can see, the ground's already powder dry again. It just soaked it right up. But if there were any mushroom spores waiting for some water, they probably took off. Now, the key question is were there any spores waiting for water? Oysters grow pretty quick. The mycelium develops pretty quick, and then they fruit out pretty quick. Everything about them is pretty quick. You can actually order oyster growing kits online. I keep thinking I need to do that for the kids. They'd probably enjoy that. And in fact, when I get back from my trip, I think I will do that. That trail is looking pretty overgrown, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut off into the bush. This area looks pretty good. It's got sunlight. It's got some dead wood in it, but I don't see any evidence of mushrooms. Now, some of you are probably thinking, what in the world is he doing out in the woods? Isn't he a car YouTuber? And I am on my main channel. That's what that channel kind of became, was a car channel, unintentionally. It just happened that way. And it's mainly because I know what I'm doing when it comes to cars. I know I've always done it. I know how to make money at it, and so that's what I do. However, this is what I really enjoy doing. I love being out here in the woods. And in fact, my name, Silas, means man of the woods or man of the wilderness. Check out this log. That is cool. Just the way it's weathered. I don't want to get too close. Looks like some rats or something are living in there. But just the way that thing weathered out. You guys see all those rat nests in my cars? They do the same thing out in the woods too. This is what they do. They make a giant hump of sticks and bark and twigs and you name it. And they burrow down in there, and that way it keeps the wind off of them in the wintertime, keeps them insulated. You know, I've seen a couple squirrels, but I haven't seen any rabbits or any deer or anything like that. Kind of unusual. But anyway, as I wiggle through these trees, this is what I really enjoy doing. I love going out here mushroom hunting, searching for, foraging for stuff. And I kind of want to do that on the second channel more so than car stuff. I don't want the second channel to be strictly car related. I want it to be more true adventure related, just getting out there and finding adventures, doing fun things. Stuff like this didn't cost me a thing. I spent maybe $2 in fuel to get out to my place. It's just a matter of figuring out what you want to do and how can I get it done. And you may not be able to do exactly what you want to do. If I had it my way, I wouldn't be here right now. I would have gone somewhere else and went mushroom hunting, but it just didn't work out. So that's why I'm here right now. I'm still having fun. I'm still having an adventure. Man, those berries there are bright. These are not edible though. I'm not sure how poisonous they are, but I know they're not edible. I know they'll make you sick at least. So I just looked these up on Plant Snap, and what these are is a honeysuckle type of plant. I'm not sure what variety, but yeah, they definitely are poisonous. It's a very mild symptom. If I was to eat a handful of those, I'd probably spend the next day or two puking my guts up, but I wouldn't die. But the birds absolutely love these things, and they grow everywhere in this part of Kansas. I'm sad that I missed the sandhill plum season. I just completely forgot all about it. They don't grow on my property. I have to go to where they grow, and I just completely spaced it off. I went ahead and came on down to the river bottom now. I really don't expect there to be any mushrooms down here, but I thought it's worth a try. We'll get as close to the water as we can. On rainy years, all this area that I'm at right now will go underwater, but we haven't had a rainy year in quite a long time now. It's probably been about, 6 years, 7 years or so. But I want to forage around here a little bit, see what we can find. If I see anything interesting, I'll let you guys know. As you can see, this river is not much to look at. It is pretty shallow right now. This is one of the shallowest I've ever seen it. I don't think you could even go down this river in a kayak right now. It's that shallow. It looks like the channel over there by that bank is a little bit deeper than it is over here, but still, I doubt it's more than about 8 inches deep over there, even in the deep part. I thought this plant right here was pretty fascinating. All the little tiny insects all over it. And then over here, if you look down in here, there's all sorts of little tiny shells. Little itty bitty shells. Boy, when I was a kid, I would have a heyday picking those up. And here's a spider here by my foot. You just never know what you're going to find when you actually get out here and you just kind of look around. Like, look at that little shiny beetle right there. When you actually just take the time to stop and look around you, it's amazing what's out there. There's a little bit bigger shell over there. Looks like there's quite a few tracks here. Looks like raccoon, deer, maybe some possum, bunches of bird tracks. I'm guessing some sort of other little critters. Coming up to this little watering hole right here. I don't see any bobcat tracks. I have a bobcat on my trail camera over at my place, and so I'm sure he or she comes from this river. fairly often. And on that note, I probably should be carrying some sort of protection. I don't think a bobcat would mess with you, but there have been some mountain lion sightings in this area as well, so didn't used to be that way. I know we don't have bears around here or nothing like that, no wolves. We have some coyotes, but coyotes don't mess with people. But a mountain lion, if she's got a cub, she will mess with people. And you guys know me, I try my dead level best to be as respectful as possible with nature. I don't litter, I don't do things that are crazy, I don't tear stuff up out in the wilderness. But when you're walking through grass that's taller than you, every now and then you can stumble upon something that isn't so happy that you stumbled upon it. And I would never want to harm something, but if push came to shove, if it was it or me, I want it to be it, not me. As you can see, this river grass that I'm walking through right now is taller than I am. There's a little bit of a trail right here that I'm walking through, makes it a little bit easier to walk. I'm going to try to get back up there where all the trees are, but like I say, normally all this is underwater and this grass isn't here like this. But it's been so many years since the water was this deep that this grass is kind of taking over. We really need, I hate to say it, but we really need a good flood to get this back under control again. I wish I had my fishing pole and some waders, because this river here, like I say, it's pretty shallow. There's not really any fish in it. I mean, there are fish in it, but nothing really worth catching. But when you find holes kind of where there's little bends in the river and there's a pile of brush or something out there, those big old flatheads will get down in there. Man, you can catch some good sized fish in this place, and they'll bite whatever comes in their hole. What I really need to do sometime is just come down here and set some bank lines and then come back and check them later that day or the next day. I've done that before. It's a ton of fun. You can catch some pretty good fish doing that. Tons of minnows. You can't really see them too good on the camera probably, but you can see their little darts through the water. All over the place. Kind of up here in this little puddle where the wind's not, or the current's not whipping them all around. What do we got here? We got some, looks like some stork tracks. Going through here looking for frogs and whatnot. Bunches of animal tracks. You can see this is where they've been going up the bank, so I guess that's where I'm going to go up the bank. Well, we struck out on the mushroom front. It's just too dry. However, I am going to go back and I guess I'm going to go ahead and go for some spiderwort tea. Here's one. Now, in the springtime and the early summer, these things are everywhere and there's tons of them and they're a lot bigger. This time of year, they're not nearly as big and there's not nearly as plentiful. But we're going to make do with what we have. I guess my only container I have is my dirty hat, but oh well, it is what it is. When you pluck these, you want to be careful not to squish the flower. Just like that, because if you squeeze that flower at all, it will tear it up. It'll mush into nothing like it did earlier. There's another one. I'm not going to need that many. Like I say, just a small handful will be enough for 1 cup of tea. Here's a good little batch of them. There's another little batch down there, so that'll work good enough for me. This stuff actually grows all over the junkyard too. I mean, it is all through this whole area. So I didn't technically have to go clear out to the river to find enough of this, but it's okay. We definitely had a lot of fun today. We'll get some more of this gathered up. I've almost got enough in my hat here, so we'll get a little bit more. I'll take it home, make some tea. And I am home now. There's my total haul. Like I say, not that many. I wish I could have got a few more, but a lot of them were just so small they were falling apart as I was trying to pick them. So I won't be able to make a large glass of tea, but that's okay. All right, I got a cup of water boiled. You do want to add a little bit of honey to them because they can be a little bit bitter. Not real bitter, but a little bit bitter. So you just want to add a little bit of sweetness to them. I mean, I guess you could put stevia in it or sugar if you really wanted to, but I'm just going to go ahead and go with raw honey. There we go. Then you just add in your water. And we'll just let that steep for a minute. And there's the final product. The water definitely isn't clear anymore. It's kind of a yellowish purplish color. If I would have had more flowers in there, it would have been more of a not a dark purple, but like a real light purple color. However, because these flowers were so small, I didn't quite get enough of them. I probably should have picked about twice as many as I did, but that's okay. But I let it cool down a little bit now. You can strain the flowers out if you want to, but the flowers are completely edible. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave them in there and we'll see what it tastes like. It's good. There's an interesting flavor to it. You can taste the honey for sure, but there's definitely something else. And I think the flowers by themselves, they would have been bitter because there's a little bit of bitterness to it, but the sweetness of the honey cancels it out to where it actually has a really good flavor. Yeah, I actually really like that. I wish I would have been making that all year. Now at the very end of the season, I discovered this, but that's okay. Hopefully there'll be some more next year. And I can do that a bunch. It's nice and refreshing. It's not like going to McDonald's and getting a sweet tea there. I mean, it's got a sweetness of the honey, but yet it's got another flavor to it as well. So definitely a really good glass of tea. Well, I thought this was going to be a mushroom hunting video, but it's not the way it went. It turned into a spiderwort hunting video. I'm glad we were able to salvage it out though and came up with something new. Got to try something new. Got to find an adventure. It definitely was an enjoyable day, but with that, I've got to head out. I've got to get ready for my trip. Stay tuned for the next adventure. Maybe for the next one, I'll go back out there to those prickly pears. Maybe we'll find something else to do while I'm out of town. I don't know. We'll see. But no matter what, stay tuned. I will see you guys on the next one. As always, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. And remember to get out there, find yourself an adventure. We'll see you on the next one.